Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got a first look at the aircraft carriers. Of course, you can see here on the screen we got an actual look at how they're at least coming along right now. Work in progress. We should point that out. You can see under the map there. This is a developer's build, so that's just a little snippet, just a little taste of what's going on behind the scenes. So what we're going to do in this video, that's the entirety of the footage that was released yesterday. I'm just going to loop the actual gameplay footage in the background. We're going to reference that once we do a bit of more of a deep dive into what we can glean from here going forward. But first off, I want to start off by going over what to expect in terms of the tests, because the first time we see the carriers, the first time we get to play the carriers as players is going to be a test event. Now they've said, initially they were trying to get that in at the end of this year. I think they wanted to get it a year in after the Yamato test, which was right at the end of last year. But of course, with everything going on, everything's getting delayed. Production on this game, no different. It's been pushed back into Q1 of next year, January, February, March. That's the window we know for sure that they're shooting for. My guess is we're going to see them in roughly 11 weeks, just under 11 weeks, because currently we're in week 2 of a 6-week update cycle. Then we got one more 6-week update cycle coming behind that. Keep in mind, normally the update cycles are 5 weeks. I think my speculation is they built in an extra week this cycle and next cycle just to give them some time dedicated to really working on these things while still getting some new content out that we can enjoy in the meantime. So that's my guess. Of course, again, January to March is kind of the firm window, assuming they hit that artificial deadline that they've set from themselves. But I'm guessing 11 weeks from now. We'll see it. Anyway, if you were around for the Yamato test event last year, you kind of should. I'm expecting it to be roughly similar. If you weren't around for it, basically how it worked is you got 2 tokens every single day. Those allowed you to play the Yamato for one game, and you were either into like a tier 7 game right now, with all tier 7s, but there was 2 Yamatos per side, I believe. And then due to the fact that everyone in the world that plays this game was trying to play the Yamato at the exact same time, they had this other kind of queue clearing mode. At least that's how I always thought of it, and I assume that's the reason for it, which was basically 4 Yamatos versus 4 Yamatos. So basically, preferentially the players wanted to play the tier 7 games, be the top dog ship and bomb on everyone, but almost always you got into these 4v4 Yamato games. People were complaining to a high heaven, I guess. Trying to come up with an expression, an old-timey expression there. We'll go with that one. People complained a boatload online, okay? And then basically the developers caved. We can always be glad that Wargaming is responsive to the community. We give them thumbs up for that all the time. That's commendable. In this case, it absolutely torpedoed Tier 7, because basically they removed the 4v4, and then, every single Tier 7 game was like 3 ships versus 3 ships. It just completely destroyed the tier for the remainder of the event. So hopefully they got a little bit more self-control this time, or at least the players don't complain about it. I mean, it's a test event. They're trying to gather data on, is this thing balanced or not? So understand that they're going to design the mode to get the data they need. Go along with it if you want to, otherwise avoid it would be my advice. Don't complain about it, because if they destroy portions of the game again, it was just a disaster in my opinion. Anyway, so that's my expectation. Expect to play maybe 1 or 2 carrier games per day during the test. Then it'll go away. They're going to evaluate the data. Then they're either going to do one more test if it was a resounding failure, or if they thought they were working well enough, they might tweak them and then release them shortly thereafter. So that's what I'm expecting in terms of development. Let's jump into the footage, though. That's what everyone's kind of excited to talk about. At least I'm expecting that. What can we glean from this? First off, we got 2 carriers. We got Tier 3 American Langley and Tier 5 Japanese Ryujo, I believe it is. And my expectation is the first 2 nations of carriers that are going to be introduced into the game, probably simultaneously to start with, will be the Americans and the Japanese. keep in mind those were the opening lines with the game too. Of course, we had UK, but they're not going to do 3 carrier lines to start. At least I'd be extremely surprised. Let's just put it that way. So I'm expecting American, I'm expecting Japanese. Note tier 3. So basically, carriers are going to be present in every single tier, because tier 3s can of course play tier 2s in our game. They're going to be at every tier in the game except for tier 1. I can't imagine they would put a carrier there. I think tier 1s are all cruisers, right? I don't know. You shouldn't really be playing tier 1 unless you're brand new and you're unlocking ship lines, at least in my opinion. Maybe you guys would disagree there. But the point is, we're going to see carriers up and down the ranks, the tiers, for basically the rest of the life cycle of this game. So grit your teeth if you're not too into it, or get really excited if you are. They're here to stay. On the PC version, they got German and UK as well, are the other nations that currently have carriers. Again, I would expect those to be rolled out over time, similar to how they've done with the rest of the ships in the game here. So again, my guess, American, Japanese to start with, and then UK and German down the road. The gameplay itself looks similar to how it looks to me. I've never played the PC version, never played carriers consequently, but I've watched a little bit on YouTube, and this looks similar to me, how they currently operate in the game. Those of you that play the PC version, let us know how familiar this looks. Does it look different? Are there key differences that maybe we should look forward to? Or is this pretty much how it looks on the PC in terms of what you're actually doing? If you don't know, basically you have the carrier. It's floating around the background. On the PC, basically you pull up the map, click on a spot, the ship will kind of passively sail towards that spot, and then you launch planes. I think if you didn't launch a plane for a little while, then you'd be looking at the carrier itself. You can maneuver the ship by looking at it. But once the planes are in the air, the ship itself is on autopilot, and then we're looking at the squadrons flying around here. So that's familiar, again, but I'm not that familiar with the PC version, so take that with a grain of salt. The thing that I'm really focused on personally is the bottom right-hand corner. Now we got 2 sets. They alternate between 10 and 12, I believe, depending on what ship we're looking at. But we got the torpedoes on the left, and then HE bombs, I believe, on the right. And you can see it's right here is the interesting point, because it goes from 4 to 5, that left number. And if you missed it there, stay tuned. It'll be up in 50 more seconds. But there's 2 possibilities. If that's tracking how many squadrons are available on the carrier, there's 2 possibilities in my mind. Number 1, you start off with a set number of squadrons, and then when you run out, essentially you're out of ammo, which would promote more spotting, being less aggressive. I think that would probably be healthier. I don't know. Again, I haven't played the carriers, so I don't know what to expect, but at least on paper that seems like it would work better. But right here, we go from 4, and then it goes up to 5 on the left there. So is this number representative of how many squadrons we have on the plane? And if so, if that number actually did increase like it looks like it did, do the number of squadrons regenerate over the course of the match, essentially making the plane nearly, or the amount of planes available, nearly limitless? So this is all speculation. Obviously, we're just trying to glean what we can from this small tidbit, but that's what I'm taking away from it. And it could be something completely different. Maybe I'm missing the boat completely there, but that's what it looks like to me. So for me, that really stood out. The other thing we can look at is the center bottom of the screen. Of course, on the left-hand side of that display, we have aircraft consumables. What those actually are, I would not dare to speculate. I have no idea. If those jump out as you as familiar, those of you that have played the PC version, please let us know in the comments so we can get that information. This video is as much about what I'm saying as getting you guys in the comments, and we're going to try and learn as much as we can here. So if you are familiar with the aircraft carriers, please let us know. But we got the consumables. On the right-hand side, you can see sometimes we got bomber HE, sometimes torpedo bomber, I think, is the other option. And essentially that's what squadron you've launched. And then in the middle, kind of where your ship's diagram would be, you can see there's a plane icon with a number next to it. It starts off with 5 typically, then it counts down as the planes get shot down. So that's how many planes I believe are in your squadron. And once the planes are all shot down, then you go back to the carrier, launch another squad of planes, then you resume destroying everything in the battlefield mercilessly without recourse on the enemy's part. And then I can't remember if I mentioned it already, but one carrier per side, at least in these little clips. Will that stand true during the test, during the launch? No idea. Maybe that's just an oddity of these games anyways. But, you know, in terms of what we can see from this video, I think that's pretty much it. So, again, I want feedback from you guys who have been digging deep into the case, or if you're from the PC, what stands out to you guys? What sort of information might we be missing that you could shed some light on? So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.